Chapter 727, The Battle with Snake 2. This chapter is updated by Novels.pl. The saint guarding Shentai City was Saint Lingding from the Law Enforcement Palace. His real name was Luo Lingding. Saint Lingding stood on the balcony of the Array Tower, in the center of Shentai City. Dressed in a Taoist robe, he emanated a holy white light. His hands were behind his back and his eyes were fixed on Zhang Yuochen and Snake 2 on top of the Colosseum. Behind him were three other half-saints from the Law Enforcement Palace, Kongyu, Kongling and Kong. The demonic sect is too impudent. How dare they be so presumptuous on the Yin and Yang sect's territory? The slightly stout half-saint Kongyu snorted angrily. Half-saint Kongling looked quite worried. Snake 2 is an Archean survivor, a white snake with a saint heart. The blood of a mythical beast courses through her body. She's very strong in both her Tower of the Sword and spiritual power. We heard that Snake 2 fought a first-level half-saint from the Imperial Court on her way here. They exchanged several hundred moves and she wasn't defeated. Half-saint Kongling continued. Lin Yue is going to represent the Yin and Yang sect in the upcoming Sword Technique Conference. If something untoward happens to him, how are we going to answer to the Sword Saint or our master? Saint Lingding nodded. Lin Yue's cultivation is still at the 7th change of the Fish Dragon realm. But Snake 2 is almost a half-saint. He has a long way to go before he can match her. Kongling, stop their fight and tell the people from the demonic sect we'll kill them if they try anything rash. Yes, sir. Kongling stood up and was about to go over to the Colosseum. Hold on a minute. A sweet female voice rang out in the distance. It crept expansively into the ears of Saint Lingding and the other three half-saints. A beam of white light hovered in the sky from afar, stopping just above the Array Tower. It condensed into the Saint Lady's form. Our respects to your excellency the Saint Lady. Standing in a row, the three half-saints bowed together and paid their respects to the Saint Lady. Looking most reverent, Saint Lingding wrinkled his brows and asked, "What do you mean, Your Excellency?" The Saint Lady was in a white Confucian scholar costume, dressed like a man. She looked dashing. She was smiling sunnily. Saint Lingding, I'm sorry but this is what I meant. I'm quite confident in Lin Yue's abilities. He can certainly rival Snake 2. The Saint Lady spoke to him as a junior. Saint Lingding uncreased his brows, feeling quite satisfied. After all, her cultivation and status were above his. To address him as her senior was showing him the greatest respect. Half-Saint Lingding said, Lin Yue is certainly very powerful, but his cultivation is only at the 7th change of the Fish Dragon realm. I'm worried he will meet with mishap. Your Excellency must be quite aware of his importance to our sect. The Saint Lady smiled faintly and glanced at Lin Yue. If Lin Yue can defeat Snake 2 while still at the 7th change of the Fish Dragon realm, his potential must be immense. The fact that the Saint Lady predicted a bright future for Lin Yue was good news for the Yin and Yang sect. Saint Lingding's heart skipped a beat. He suddenly realized how highly the Saint Lady thought of Lin Yue, coming in person to watch him fight. Is the Saint Lady choosing Lin Yue as an heir to Kunlun's field? Is this showdown with Snake 2 his final test? Saint Lingding wondered to himself. An heir of Kunlun's field implied much for the sect. It meant that the Yin and Yang sect would stand in the field without harassment for the next 1,000 years. Lin Yue, bring credit to our sect. Even if you can't beat Snake 2, you must not lose. Saint Lingding inhaled a deep breath and his eyes turned solemn. He had to make Saint Lady value Lin Yue even more no matter what. Snake 2 and Zhang Yuochen faced each other in the Colosseum. Although they had not started fighting, they were already pitting their sword chi domains against each other. Their sword qis were streaking out, clashing and dissipating at the same time. Minute distortions could be felt in the air. You're only an Archean survivor, yet you've mastered all 10 realms of Sword 1 to the completion. You are indeed a remarkable white snake with a saint heart, Zhang Yuochen said. Although they had yet to fight, Zhang Yuochen could feel her powerful Tower of the Sword. She had definitely mastered all 10 levels of Sword 1 to the completion. She might have even mastered several levels of Sword 2. In the last 1,000 years, only a few dozen people had mastered all 10 levels of Sword 1 while still in the Fish Dragon realm. They had all become sword heroes. A sword hero in the Fish Dragon realm could easily be called a genius in the Tower of the Sword. Snake 2 flashed her gleaming white teeth. That being the case, Let's pit our Tao of the Sword and see who is better. As she said the first word, she was still standing in the distance. As she uttered the last word, she had already appeared behind Zhang Yuochen. Raising her serpent-shaped holy sword noiselessly, she aimed a slash at his throat. Snake 2 was as quick as a first-level half-saint. Had her opponent been a saintly being at the 9th change of the Fish-Dragon realm, she could have chopped his head off before he even noticed anything. Zhang Yuochen stood where he was without flinching. He raised his sword and stabbed toward her chest. It was a well-calculated move. If Snake 2 chopped Zhang Yuochen's head off, his sword would pierce through her body. Swoosh. Snake 2 naturally did not want to die with Zhang Yuochen. She frowned slightly and ducked to her right. She drew a long sword arc and struck at his abdomen. Zhang Yuochen reacted with lightning speed. Almost as fast as Snake 2, he flicked his sword upward. Its tip nearly struck her in the neck, forcing her back. Swish swish. Zhang Yuochen and Snake 2 were fighting briskly. Within a period of 3 breaths, they had exchanged over 100 moves. Yet their swords never clashed. They looked like they were merely displaying their sword techniques in an exhibition. As a matter of fact, every killer move Snake 2 made was repelled by Zhang Yuochen. She was forced to change. Only a few of the monks below could make out their forms. Many monks, including superiors at the 9th change of the Fish-Dragon realm, could see only streaking shadows. They could not discern their sword moves. There was still a large gap between different practitioners at the 9th change of the Fish-Dragon realm. Captain Rat rubbed his chin with his hand and watched intently. Lin Yue's Tao of the Sword has reached a far higher level than Snake 2's. If they keep pitting their skills in the sword, she'll lose. Ouyang Huan replied, I'm sure she realizes this. She probably won't fight him using sword techniques. She'll try to crush him with her superior cultivation instead. Snake 2 had already stepped into the half-saint realm. Her cultivation certainly exceeded Lin Yue's. Ouyang Huan's eyes were solemn. Even Snake 2 needed to use her powerful cultivation to suppress Lin Yue, a monk at the 7th change of the Fish-Dragon realm. If Lin Yue were to attain the 9th change, how powerful would he be? As predicted, Snake 2 decided not to contend against Zhang Yuochen in the Tao of the Sword. Instead, she mobilized all the holy chi within her body. An ancient saint power, peculiar to an Archean survivor, surged out from her. Swoosh. Her ancient saint power condensed into a Dharma Laksana. A white snake as thick as a water bucket was coiling in the middle of the Colosseum. Its immense power was overbearing. The Dharma Laksana of an Archean survival was even more powerful than a saintly being's. Zhang Yuochen felt as if a dozen mountains were weighing on his shoulders. They suppressed his power and speed, making it difficult for him to mobilize his holy chi. Snake 2 giggled coquettishly. I agree that your Tao of the Sword is very strong, but your cultivation is still a bit lacking. Oh, is that so? Zhang Yuochen said, not wanting to admit defeat. Swoosh. The snake-shaped sword in her hand glittered with brilliance. 884 inscriptions hovered on its surface and enveloped the 100-meter Colosseum in a white spherical light. The power of the holy weapon blazed out and started to consume Zhang Yuochen, as if trying to destroy everything under the sun. Even Auxinian's blue water dragon patterned sword only had 650 inscriptions. Snake 2's snake-shaped sword was of a higher class. Consequently, its power was even more terrifying. Oh no. Snake 2 has such a powerful holy sword. Her cultivation is also very strong. I'm afraid Lin Yue will lose. Auxinian pursed her lips tightly. Standing below the Colosseum, she could feel the immense power emanating from Snake 2's holy sword. Yet if Lin Yue was really the group leader, he would never lose, no matter who his enemy was. An Archean survivor with a Dharma Laksana. She's even more powerful than a saintly being. Will Lin Yue be able to ward off her attack? He has no advantage in his weapon or his cultivation. How can he fight her? If he could make use of the space domain, Zhang Yuochen would not be affected by Snake 2's Dharma Laksana. However, there were saints everywhere in Shentai City. Many saints were likely watching this match in secret. If he utilized the space domain, his identity would be exposed. If I could cultivate a 4-spirit treasured body, I would be able to mobilize the 5 elements and display an incomplete 5-element Slaksna. Even an incomplete 5-element Slaksna would be more powerful than hers. Then I would be able to suppress her. Zhang Yuochen had already reached the 7th change of the Fish Dragon realm. It was very likely that he could cultivate a 4-spirit treasured body in time for the upcoming Sword Technique Conference. Once he had cultivated a 4-spirit treasured body, his overall strength would improve a great deal. Of course, he could still strike back, even though he had not cultivated a 4-spirit treasured body. He mobilized his holy chi and injected it into the shooting star invisible cloak, releasing its dormant power. The burden on his shoulders immediately lightened. Then he activated the inscriptions on the blue water dragon patterned sword. He took the initiative and attacked Snake 2. The speed he displayed was even faster than before. Impossible. A look of disbelief shone in Snake 2's eyes. She found it incredible that Lin Yue could move about so easily even when weighed down by her Dharma Laksana. Sword 1. Zhang Yuochen's body almost completely merged with his sword. He transformed into a beam of light. He tore away at Snake 2's Dharma Laksana and aimed a direct stab between her brows.